This is the Insta360 One X2. What's happening, guys? Dan Debenham here. Do you know, it's a camera that I vehemently said I would never get, and that I had no use for a 360 camera. I had little use for the GoPros that I've got. And I just thought to myself, what's the point if I'm not really using the GoPros? I think the last time I did a video on an action cam was the gimbal, the Feiyutech G5 gimbal that I had for the GoPro Hero 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 type style. And I just thought, you know, we've not talked about it for ages and ages and ages. And I don't really have a use for one of those things. Scoot forward to 2021 when I've got the one wheel and I'm doing a little bit more sort of stuff outside, and it's not all studio based stuff, or majority of it's not all studio based stuff, and I needed something that I could use that was going to be easy enough to get all the shots I needed, but whilst I was on the move at the same time. Bring in the Insta360 One X2. This is a nice camera. It's something, like I say, that I was like, I'm not going to really get a use out of one of these. Turns out I have actually got a use out of one of these. I'd used one, an Insta360. I think it was the Insta360. I think it was just a basic model one. I used one which was supplied for a job at work. And to be honest, I think part of the problem with it had been that it had not been particularly well looked after, and as such, the sort of image quality wasn't great either. The lenses were a little bit scuffed and such like, and I think that sort of dented and marred my opinion of these. But yeah, so I just thought, you know what, I'm going to need to get something that's sort of like useful, that I can just point in a direction, and it's just going to do everything I want to do without actually having to think about where I'm placing the camera, so to speak. So this Insta360 One X2, it's waterproof down to about, I think it's 3 meters for about 30 minutes. So it's entirely water sealed, and it's denoted by the fact that it's got these little tabs for the battery door and the connections door. The battery's a little bit bigger than the original batteries, so it's quite big. And it's got like little orange markers on the doors that basically denote when it's closed and when it's not closed properly. So you can tell straight away this is not watertight. There's a little door at the top here with a little sort of rubber connector on it, and that's for the USB-C port, which is basically what you charge it from or where you transfer your video from. Although you can transfer your video wirelessly over the app, and basically that's where you get all the information and the charging from, etc., etc. This little door, it's come off twice with me so far. It's the little rubber thing. Just be real careful of that, because that just pops off. It could pop back in, no worries, but it's not particularly secure. It's got 4 microphones, 2 on either end, so 2 on either end, and then 2 underneath one underneath each lens. So you've got 1 on each side of the phone, one on each side of this Insta360, and effectively that allows you to get 360-degree audio. And it's got a larger touch screen on the back. You can see that there. It's got quite a large touch screen, although it's a weird shape. It's a circular shaped touch screen, but I suppose you look at an image that is very wide anyway, and it's surprising how quickly that circular touch screen becomes the norm for you. It's quite quickly becomes like the thing, and there's gesture swipes to be able to swipe in and out left and right, and you get to the menu system and so on and so forth, and you can change the way that you shoot in modes and your photos and all that kind of stuff. It does take photos, and it's got a mount on the bottom basically, which allows you to connect it to a tripod or one of those selfie sticks, which I've actually got. Now I got this selfie stick, this is the combined one, So this is different to the older ones where you had to click it, you sort of twisted it to click it into place. This you don't, it's just friction based, which is quite cool. But also it's got a little button on the bottom, and then when you press it up, it turns it into a tripod. So you've got 2-in-1 system there, which basically allows you to have everything with you wherever you go, effectively. So that's quite cool, actually. That's a pretty cool feature, to be honest. So you're out and about with your selfie stick, you want to put it down and do something else, boom, you've got yourself a 1 meter tall tripod, effectively, or up to 1 meter tall tripod on a stick, which is capturing absolutely everything, all the 360 degrees of everything you're doing. So you can just do what you want to do wherever you want to do it, and eventually later down the line when you get back home, or you want to do it straight on the app there and then, you can just choose your shot, and then boom, you're sorted and you've got what you needed. I also got the lens guards. I've not installed them yet. These are just the normal everyday lens guards, not the premium ones. And these are the sort of thing, these have to come off when it's underwater. I don't envisage using it underwater a massive amount, but I thought the lens guards might come in handy as well. And I also got the case. Now the case, to be honest, for those of you who've ever seen the Mavic Mini, the DJI Mavic Mini, the original one, the Fly More bundle, that came with a case, which looks virtually exactly the same as this. The colour and the hold on 1 second. Here we go. So this is the DJI Mavic Mini case. This is the Insta360 ONE X2 case. And as you can see, they are pretty much the same. There's slight differences in colour, but effectively they look like they've been made by the same people, which is quite cool. Because I mean that DJI case is quite a good case. This is quite strong. It's quite, you know, it's not gonna collapse on anything. It's got a little pouch inside, and it's got a place for your camera. The only thing I would say is fitting the Insta360 into it. It fits in now, no worries. But that's because I've messed with this foam insert a little bit. I've sort of had to squeeze and push it because the actual camera itself wouldn't fit into the spot. It was too big. It was sat sort of out. It was sat up proud and wouldn't actually fit into the spot where it's meant to fit. And even now, it's probably a little bit stiff, which I suppose you could say is not a bad thing. But it's also not great if it's not sitting properly in the place that's meant to protect it. The other thing about the sitting of this in the case is that the 2 handholds here to the finger points to get your camera out, one of them is pretty much right on the on-off button. So when you're gripping it and it's stiff and you're pulling it out, you're virtually going to turn it on. It's in essence. So that's all cool. I mean, it is cool anyway. I also got this sort of neoprene rubber lens protector cap top thing, which effectively sits straight over the top of the lens. So it's protected both sides by a rubber cap, which is pretty cool. And again, it's like, you know, it fits really well, feels really nice, and it's good quality stuff. It's a bit stiff to get off, but in essence, it's a good piece of kit. So let's talk about frame rates then. So what can we shoot with this? So this shoots 5.7K, and it shoots 4K, and it shoots a weird 3K. So you get 24, 25, 30 in 5.7K. You get 50 and 60 in 4K also. And you get 100 frames a second in 3K, which sounds a bit weird, and it is a bit of a weird aspect ratio. But when you're shooting for YouTube and sort of Instagram and all that kind of stuff, upscaling 3K to 4K, you're not going to notice any difference anyway. And effectively, it'll do fine. But you do get quite a good piece of slow motion there. So you've got decent slow motion at 60 frames a second, but then you've got actual real good slow motion at 100 frames a second, which is it's gonna show you the stuff in real good detail. And it's a great piece of kit. You can switch one of the lenses off and use it just solely as an action camera. So I think it switches the front lens on and the back lens off, so you've got the screen so you can see what you're doing, and then you can just point and shoot and so on and so forth. Also, as I say, it takes photographs as well. And yeah, so far, yeah, it's been a good piece of kit. I did some shooting with it, so let's take a look at the stuff that I shot. So it literally is like having a whole film crew, absolutely loads of cameras just in your pocket really, and it just can give you so many different angles. It's just so easy to do, where you're not having to worry about camera placement, shot placement, and you can still use it as an action camera, because you can still turn both you can turn one of the cameras off, so you're only using one of the lenses. So that just makes it even more useful. It's just so much easier to do. As I say, I've only had this 2 weeks, so it's not a massively in-depth review of the Insta360 One X2. As I say, I've not had it really long enough to go super in-depth with everything, but I can say that I have tried both the desktop and the phone app. And I've got to say the phone app is probably more feature-rich than what the desktop app is. There's a lot more of the effects that you can do with it, and it does try its very best to get you to do things that are of a sort of got a professional feel to them. So you can do this clone trail thing where it just sort of like gets it sort of stop motions you as you're running along or moving along, etc, etc, and it's a really easy thing to do. Once you've shot your footage, you just go in, select it, and it just sort of automatically does it for you itself. You can also draw a box around a particular subject, whether that's a thing or a person, and it will keep that thing in frame all the way through your video. So for instance, you're walking along and you're trying to film a dog, cat, person, a tree, whatever it is you're trying to film. If you're moving around, it will alter the video, automatically keyframe the video for you, so that you've got that in focus all the way through, which is very good, considering that if you want to do that yourself, you've got to go in and manually keyframe it, which on the app is actually really easy. It's as easy as it is on a desktop, if I'm honest, and it's basically a very intuitive way of doing things. The one thing I would say about the app is, the thing that does annoy me a little bit is it looks more like a shop at the beginning, and I want to get straight into the camera. I don't want to look at cameras that I'm not going to buy, which is basically what it wants you to do. It wants you to see all the other things they've got going off at the beginning, and in actual fact, you just want to connect straight to the camera, get into your footage, and get it edited. And get it out onto Insta, onto Twitter, onto YouTube, or wherever you're putting it. But at the beginning, it's very much sort of looks like an advert, and then you're into this sort of shop, this Insta shop of like, buy a 1R, buy this, that, and the other, buy a lens cap, buy some whatevers. And you've bought your camera already. Really, you're not looking to buy 15,000 of them. You just want the one, or maybe the two, and you've already done that. You don't need to be reminded every single time you open the app that there are other products that they've got going off. I'm sure at some point they'll change that once it becomes sort of ubiquitous that everybody has a 360 camera. But until that happens, I suspect you're going to have to put it with it looking more like a shop until you've connected to the camera, and then you get all your footage and so on and so forth. One of the good things about the app is you can edit the footage directly off the camera. You don't have to download the footage to your phone first and then start editing it. You can edit it directly off the camera, as long as obviously the camera's switched on. And you can basically then just export the finished video, leave the footage on the memory card if you want, and you've got like a backup of it basically. But other than that, it's really shocked me. It's really shocked me at how good this actual 360 camera is. It's very weighty actually. It feels quite well made. I don't know why that's a surprise to me, but it feels heavier and more robust than I feel it should feel. I feel it should be, maybe I'm used to things feeling a little bit more delicate, but this feels a little bit more robust. It feels a little bit more like it's almost tank-like, basically. And yeah, it's really good. From a full, also from a full charge of a battery, you get about 80 minutes worth of video out of it. Now that doesn't sound like a massive amount. I can tell you it's plenty to do the things that you will want to do with a 360 camera, especially as you spend an inordinate amount of time stop start. It's not like a constant film. Even if I'm going on a ride, on a one-wheel ride, I could cover 20 miles in 80 minutes, no worries. And you run out of battery then, so you've run out of battery on both things then, so that's a shame, isn't it? So basically, any sort of rides that I've been doing when I've been testing it, it has had plenty of battery power with it, to not need to have a second battery with me. Not saying that not having a second battery is not a good thing. I think it's always good to have a little backup, but I feel like 80 minutes is probably the right amount of time to be able to do all the filming that I would need. Am I saying you should get this camera? No, I'm not saying you should get it. I think you need to look at whether you need a 360 camera or whether you get any use from it. As I say, I've only been using it for a couple of weeks. It's not like I'm an expert in this in any way, shape or form. I just wanted to give you a quick look at what it was like, basically, and so that you could see what sort of thing that I'm using and what I thought of it, effectively. So yeah, do I think it's good? Yes, I do. Do I think it's worth the money? Yes, I do. Would I buy like one of the bundles? Probably not. I would probably buy the bits, the camera itself, and then like I've done, I bought the bits I need separately, because I just thought, well, I only want certain pieces, and generally speaking, they don't come with this pole/tripod affair. They effectively just come with the normal everyday selfie stick, and I think you're better off buying the camera itself and then buying all the bits separately that you want as you go along, as you see fit, and as you see whether you need them or not. So I hope with the look at this and what I've found from it when I've been using it in the past sort of 2 weeks, I hope that it's been useful, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.